Some children don't remember learning how to play. They remember learning how to manage people. You notice tension before anyone says a word. You know when someone is about to get angry. You know how to calm a room. People say you're mature, responsible, strong. But sometimes you feel strangely tired, even when nothing is happening, and you can't quite explain why. Because the truth is, some children didn't grow up slowly. They grew up all at once. Problem Deep Dive. Imagine a child sitting quietly at the dinner table. The room feels tense. No one explains what's wrong, but the child can feel it in the air. A parent is overwhelmed. Another is distant. Maybe there's conflict. Maybe there's silence. So the child learns something very quickly. If I stay calm, things stay safe. They begin watching everything: tone of voice, footsteps in the hallway, the way a door closes. They become experts at reading emotions, not because they want to, but because their safety depends on it. Psychologists call this parentification. It happens when a child starts taking emotional responsibility for the adults around them. The child becomes the peacemaker, the helper, the quiet one who doesn't cause problems. At first, it looks like maturity. Teachers praise it. Family members admire it. You're so responsible. You're the strong one. But internally, something different is happening. The child is slowly learning that their value comes from stability, not from being themselves, not from exploring, not from making mistakes, but from keeping everything together. And this belief quietly follows them into adulthood. You may notice it in strange ways. You struggle to relax when others are upset. You feel responsible for people's moods. You overthink small conflicts. You apologize even when you did nothing wrong. And the strange part is, you don't even realize you're doing it, because this pattern became normal before you were old enough to question it. But that raises a deeper question. Why does the brain adapt this way at all? Reframe. Here's something important. This response isn't weakness, it's intelligence. The human brain is designed for one thing above all else: survival through attachment. Children cannot survive alone, so the brain constantly asks a silent question: what do I need to do to keep connection? For some children, connection is stable. Parents regulate emotions. The environment feels predictable. But in unstable environments, the brain adapts differently. Instead of focusing on exploration, it focuses on monitoring. Instead of asking, "What do I want?" the mind learns to ask, "What will keep everyone calm?" This is not failure. It is the brain performing an extraordinary survival strategy. The tragedy is not that the child adapted. The tragedy is that the adaptation never had a chance to turn off. And that leads us to the deeper mechanism happening inside the brain. Psychological mechanism. When children grow up in unpredictable emotional environments, the brain develops something called hypervigilance. Hypervigilance means the nervous system becomes extremely sensitive to possible threats. But here's the important part. The threat isn't always physical. It's emotional. Anger, disappointment, withdrawal. The brain's alarm center, the amygdala, starts scanning constantly for signs that something might go wrong. Think of it like a smoke detector. Normally, smoke detectors activate during real fires, but hypervigilance turns the detector extremely sensitive. Now it reacts to steam from a shower or toast from the toaster. The alarm system becomes overprotective. Meanwhile, the brain's planning system, the prefrontal cortex, starts helping manage situations before they escalate. You learn to predict reactions. You anticipate moods. You adjust your behavior early. In a child, this creates a powerful mental model. If I control the emotional climate, I stay safe. So the brain builds a role. You become the emotional thermostat of your environment. When tension rises, you lower it. When people are upset,
You stabilize them. When conflict appears, you smooth it over. This role works beautifully in childhood. It protects connection. But later in life, it creates a hidden cost, because the nervous system never stops scanning, even when nothing is wrong. Which raises an important question. If this pattern was built so deeply, how do you begin changing it? Practical framework. Healing this pattern isn't about forcing yourself to become different overnight. It's about slowly teaching the nervous system that safety no longer depends on constant monitoring. Here are 4 principles that help retrain the brain, not through motivation, but through psychology. 1. Notice the monitoring habit. First, simply observe how often your mind scans for emotional signals. You might walk into a room and instantly check, is everyone okay? Did I say something wrong? Is someone upset? This awareness matters because of a principle in cognitive science called meta-awareness. When you observe a mental habit, the prefrontal cortex becomes active. This reduces automatic emotional reactions from the amygdala. Example, you enter a meeting at work and feel tension in the room. Instead of immediately trying to fix it, you pause and notice the urge. I'm scanning again. This moment of noticing interrupts the automatic loop. 2. Separate responsibility from empathy. Children who grow up too fast often confuse empathy with responsibility. They feel other people's emotions deeply, but they also feel obliged to solve them. Psychologically, these are 2 different systems. Empathy is emotional understanding. Responsibility is behavioral action. Your brain learned to combine them, so every time you sense discomfort, you feel compelled to intervene. Practice allowing empathy without taking control. Example, a friend is frustrated at work. Instead of offering solutions immediately, you simply listen. Your nervous system learns a new rule. Connection does not require control. 3. Reintroduce safe imperfection. Children who grow up too fast often formed this hidden belief. Mistakes create instability, so the brain tries to avoid them. But behavioral psychology shows that growth requires safe failure. The brain rewires through experiences where mistakes do not destroy connection. Example, you say no to a request you normally accept. Maybe someone feels slightly disappointed, but the relationship continues. Each time this happens, the nervous system records a new memory. Conflict does not equal abandonment. 4. Create emotional boundaries. Boundaries are not about distance, they are about psychological clarity. The brain must learn which emotions belong to you and which belong to others. Without boundaries, the nervous system absorbs everything. Example, a coworker is stressed and irritated. Instead of automatically internalizing the mood, you remind yourself, this feeling is in the room, but it is not mine. Over time, the brain stops treating every emotional signal as a personal responsibility. Integration. You can think of your mind like a control room filled with monitors. Each screen shows emotional signals from the environment. For years, you believed it was your job to watch every screen at once, every flicker of tension, every shift in mood, every conflict. But the truth is, that control room was never meant to be run by a child, and it was never meant to run forever. Healing doesn't mean shutting the monitors off. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a finely tuned perception system. But now you're learning something new. You are no longer the emergency operator. You are simply someone sitting in the room, observing, choosing which signals matter, and letting the rest pass quietly. Quiet, empowering close. Growing up too fast changes a person. It teaches awareness earlier than most people learn it. It creates responsibility long before it should exist. But it also creates something else, depth, the ability to understand emotions. the ability to notice what others miss, the ability to hold complexity. The problem was never that you became strong. The problem was that you believed strength meant carrying everything alone. Now something different becomes possible. You can keep the awareness, but release the burden. You can stay empathetic without becoming responsible for every feeling in the room. And slowly the nervous system begins to understand something it never learned as a child. You don't have to hold the world together to belong in it. Sometimes the deepest healing is simply realizing this. You were never supposed to grow up that fast, but now you are finally allowed to grow at your own pace.